It's a great day to be a Coyote. Welcome, Coyote Nation, to another episode of Back the Pack Podcast, where we are going to be bringing you all your favorite games, memories, and of course, discussions with our fellow Coyotes. As a disclaimer, we have no affiliation to the University of South Dakota. This is a podcast ran by fans for fans. The ideas and comments do not represent the university. Our opinions are our own. Be sure to find us on Twitter at BackThePackSD and join the USD Coyote Fans Nation page on Facebook. Last but not least, join the Howling Pack at www.goyotes.com. That said, let's talk some Coyote football.
Yes, sir. I am excited.
Man, it's been a minute, but we got the band back together and got a special guest tonight.
Yeah. How you doing, Coach?
Doing great, fellas. Thanks for having me on. It's good stuff.
Yeah, and we're excited for this one.
Yes, it's fun. A lot of new faces on the coaching staff, but it feels very cohesive still, which I think a lot of fans and the football team are all pretty excited about. And, I can't wait to get into the conversation with you, Coach, just about your time through football. But first thing we do want to cover real quick, and we'll bring it up, is the Iowa State game has been announced for a kickoff for us. So we'll get that added up here. One sec. There we go. So prime time, 2:30 kickoff on Fox. Can't get much bigger than that, in my opinion.
Yeah, we're excited, guys.
What's your instant reaction to this, Coach? Obviously being new to USD, but seeing this on national television.
I think it just says a lot about the tradition of this program and the trajectory that it's on and the hard work that a lot of people have put into this place and people that have supported what's been done here. And we're excited.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It is. I was going to say, we were talking about we're in a time of the season where there's typically not a ton of action, but all of a sudden today there was a lot of action, and then we had this lined up with the show tonight. So pretty exciting. I was thrilled to see it. I anticipated we were probably going to be in late morning, early afternoon game. I didn't anticipate us being like a night game or anything like that, but being on Fox blew me away. That is beyond cool. So I'm so excited. I of course won't be watching from TV. I will be in Ames, as we all will be. All four of us will be there. Oh, yeah. I hope Coach is there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I hope one is there for sure.
So, but I'm this is great. I'm so excited for that game. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, our guys are fired up.
Good. Heck yeah. And JK, I just want to welcome in all of our listeners. We've got people filing in here, and I want to say shout out Yote Fan. He's already popped in the chat. And if Ray's in here too, shout out to him and our diehards that are in here already at 8:30. So welcome in. Make sure to drop your comments and questions for Coach as we're going, and you'll be on the show.
Perfect. All right, we'll drop this down. We'll switch to the main event here, which is Coach Kirch. So, how's it feel to be in Vermilion?
It's awesome, guys. It's great. I got here in January, and when this opportunity came up, I had to pinch myself. This is a dream opportunity for me to be where I'm at, to be with the people that are here and in this building and in this community. So, it feels great.
That's awesome.
Got Ray giving us a go Yotes here already. Go Yotes, Ray.
Probably my dad on there already.
Hey, speaking of your dad, is that RJ Kirch on Twitter? Because that guy is a keyboard warrior.
He loves it, man. He's into it.
Oh man, every single tweet he's out there on the recruits, on the transfers, on the USD stuff. He's hitting that up.
He's gonna support the crap out of us.
Oh man, we love it. We assumed it was your dad, but we were actually going to ask you that.
Yep.
So give him a follow. That's at RJ Kirch if you want to check him out on Twitter. He's a good follow.
It takes all of us, guys.
Yep. Yes, it does.
That's awesome.
That's exactly right. And to kind of transition, I guess, Coach, maybe speaking of new faces, maybe just kind of take us through, or kind of take the fans through kind of your journey through football and kind of what that looks like and how that kind of came to be where we are today.
Yeah, so I grew up in Blaine, Minnesota, about 20 minutes north of Minneapolis. And my dad was a football coach when I was young, and then he transitioned to being an athletic director and a principal. But growing up in Blaine and with my dad being in the school system, being a coach, and I got an opportunity to be around football at a young age and be around it often. And so, from a little kid, being around high school football players and watching them put on shoulder pads and helmets and turn into different people, turn into gladiators, and those guys were my heroes growing up, and having a chance to have close interactions with those guys throughout my youth was really imprinting on me, and just it's how I developed my love for the game, football, and just my desire to be around it. So after high school, I went to South Dakota State, played football there.
Cut that part.
So if you guys want to cut that out, I'd appreciate it.
We're just giving you crap. What's tell us about it, because you did lead the team in tackles.
I never got recruited by the Yotes. I don't know what that staff was about, but
man. Well, you were a tackling machine, right? Because you led the team in tackles your senior year.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't have a whole lot of options, so that's where I ended up. But yeah, my time there, obviously, like anybody will say, when you devote yourself to a place and the people there, and it's had great experiences there, made great relationships. But obviously, that stuff's in the past, and I'm glad to see that there's a new regime there, and a group of guys doing it their own way. But
yeah.
So yeah, from there, guys, obviously we don't want to talk a whole lot about my time at South Dakota State. Nobody's
we don't judge a man on his past decisions.
Nobody's really interested in those details. But I tell you what, I knew I wanted to be a coach. I was never talented enough to have a chance to play after college. But what I realized kind of when I got to college was I wasn't the biggest, I wasn't the fastest, I wasn't the strongest. And to find my way onto the field, I had to be really good at understanding the playbook, understanding what the guys around me were doing, have great understanding of my job and how it fit into the scheme, how to be a great practice player, how to pay attention in meetings, how to watch film, and ultimately that grew my desire to be a coach. When my playing days were over, I knew I wanted to be a coach. Got a teaching degree, so I ended up being a high school teacher and a coach for six years. My first teaching job, guys, was at Waverly South Shore. You ever heard of it?
Yep.
Okay, South Dakota, guys. Grant, you heard of it?
I was going to say, I believe so.
I'm pretty sure I played him at some point.
Waverly South Shore is a 9 through 12 building about 20 minutes north of Watertown with like 100 kids in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I was the PE teacher. So I saw kindergarten through 12th grade every day. There's probably 10 kids in a class. Mm-hmm. And at first it's like, what am I doing here? But you spend 4 years in a place like that, you grow to love it. You grow to love the relationships you can make with people. You get to know their families, where they live, their younger siblings, watch them grow and develop. And we were fortunate to have a couple good athletes roll through at that time. Couple guys by the name of Tyson and Taylor Zemlicka, who went on to play some college football at Northern State. But we won a conference championship for the first time ever in school history. And then my fourth year there, we played and won a state championship for the first time in school history in the dome.
Were you 9B or what class were you?
We were 9B. I mean, we were as small as you could get. So
yeah, okay.
Had a great group of guys that came through there and got to play in the dome back in 2011 and won a state championship. From there, I had an opportunity to go to Minnesota and teach and coach at Forest Lake High School. And I did that for 2 years. We were not very successful. So, I look back at, a guy who was just a part of a state championship high school football program at the 9-man level thinking, man, this coaching stuff's easy. Right. There's nothing to it. I go to Forest Lake and end up playing in the biggest high school football class in the state of Minnesota and really struggled for 2 straight years and had to leave that place. It wasn't getting it done, wasn't winning enough games. And at that level, you got to win football games. So from there, I went down to Northwest Iowa and got hooked up at Northwestern College. Matt McCarty was the was the head coach at the time, and he gave me a role as a position coach. Northwest Iowa is actually where my wife is from too, guys. Rock Rapids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? The very northwest corner of the state. So
Yes.
it was really, a blessing in disguise moving down there, getting closer to my wife's family, getting my kids close to their cousins and their grandma and grandpa, and gave me an opportunity to coach college football. After my first year there, Coach McCarty transitioned to be the head coach, a lot like what happened here, and I took over as a defensive coordinator. I did that for 8 seasons, and again, had some really good players towards the end there. We played in 3 out of the last 5 national championship games. We won it once in 2022. But great place, great people. And then this opportunity came up in January when Coach Johansson, who I've known since our days in Blaine, called me, and I had an opportunity to get in the door here, and that's where we're at.
That's awesome.
What were your defenses ranked during those national championship runs in that era? What were they ranked, like top 3, top 5?
We were top 3 or top 5 in a lot of categories. It's usually us and Grandview and Morningside and Kaiser. We're up there in the top 3 or 4 schools in the country.
Yep.
That's awesome. So you've traveled quite a bit. That's really cool to see that kind of experience on there.
Yeah. So I just want to ask, Coach, why USD? Why now? You mentioned the ties to obviously Coach Johansson, but was it really just that relationship, or was it something more, or a kind of another piece to that?
Well, being at Northwestern, it was a place where I could put my faith and my family first. It was a place where I got to be around great people, from the coaching staff to the players to the community, and it was a place where we could compete for national championships. And so that it checked all those boxes for me. And to be honest, I was very content there.
Right.
Maybe too content, maybe too comfortable. When this opportunity came up, I saw it, number one, as, again, from my days, my college football days, I was familiar with this part of the country. I'm familiar with the Missouri Valley Football Conference and the University of South Dakota. This level of competition, this level of football, it's very, I think just about anyone in the country would want to be a part of what we have going on here. Mm-hmm. So, this place speaks for itself. And then on top of that, my relationship with Coach Johansson was there. Coach Davis was the offensive coordinator briefly for the time there, who I played with in college and coached with at Northwestern. So I had a relationship with Coach Davis. And then ultimately, I saw it as an opportunity to develop, and a lot like Northwestern, it's a place where I can put my faith and family first. I can be around great people with great support, coaches, players, community, and compete for national championships, and do that on a bigger stage. So that's ultimately why I made the decision to come.
Gotcha.
That's awesome.
I do want to ask with it, would you have picked up the phone if you didn't have that relationship with Coach Johansson and USD called?
I definitely would. Yeah, okay. I definitely would. It's always just kind of in the back of your mind when you're at, I never got into coaching to chase the logo or chase the level. Again, growing up, all I wanted to be was a high school football coach and a PE teacher, because that's what my heroes did.
Right.
But the more you get in it, and when you're a competitor, I guess you chase the highest competition. And again, this is an opportunity for someone to do that. So
right.
Yeah, I definitely would have picked up the phone.
And maybe not, I want to go back just to your college days for 1 second, just maybe not the same level of competition back then as it is now, but it's not like it's completely foreign territory for you either.
Yeah, my first 2 years at State, we were Division II, right, and then made the transition my junior year. into the FCS, where we played in the what do we play? Great West.
Yes, you have the Great West. Yeah.
Yep.
The good old Great West.
So
Oh my goodness.
There's no way if I was getting recruited out of high school now that I would ever sniff this program. So the types of athletes and human beings we have walking around this hallway and in our locker room are different and are pretty special and elite.
Yeah.
They're a lot of fun to be around and a lot of fun to coach.
I love it. We're getting requests from all the coaches now. So
I see that. Yeah. Dustin says, "Give us Coach Markarian there."
No,
So I have a question for you, Coach. I know, and then maybe this is more open ended, anyways. But so you're coming into a role at USD, and maybe a unique one in that the former defensive coordinator has moved into the head coaching role, but also over the last 2 years has had an insane amount of success defensively with those teams. So I know every coach operates a little bit differently. I know you have a strong relationship with Coach Johansson, but tell us what might look a little bit different under your defense of schemes versus what we've maybe seen in the past couple of years with Coach Johansson.
So Coach Johansson and I, we went our separate ways after high school, and we both got into coaching and have stayed in close contact ever since. Especially these last, when I got into the college level and started coordinating defenses at a college level, he was doing the same thing. For a few years when he was at Grandview, I was at Northwestern. We thought we were going to play each other in the playoffs, and must have been 2018, one of those years. And then as he transitioned over to USD, and I was still at Northwestern, I mean, we're talking almost every day during the season, out of the season, about football, about defense, about playbook, about scheme, about terminology. What we did at Northwestern, the playbook that we used, is almost identical to what we're doing here. Some of the terminology is a little bit different, but the way we're trying to skin the cat with the philosophy that we come from and the way we go about it from an organizational standpoint and a structure standpoint is almost exactly the same. And so another, big reason for me coming here, and I think it went into Coach Johansson's decision as well, is it's a plug and play deal. I mean, we stepped out into spring ball this year and our guys didn't have to learn. I mean, I would say 97% of what we did were things that they had done in the fall. I was able to sprinkle in a few different terms and a few different ideas, but the bulk of it is plug and play, terminology, structure, philosophy, all the way down. So that's been really great for our players, not having to learn a new language. Essentially, it's been great for our coaches, and really, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right?
Right.
So I'm getting the keys to a sports car here. I'm trying not to crash it. The first time around the block.
So is it safe to say that maybe instead of, I guess, the players learning your playbook, maybe it was more time spent the players learning you and you learning the players, more of like the personal side of it and not so much X's and O's?
Yeah, that's definitely a component. We talk about, our culture, scheme, technique, fundamentals, but that culture bucket is about building relationships. Number one, I learned from a young age that guys don't really care about what you know unless they know how much you care. That's an old corny saying, but it's old and corny because it's true. So yeah, it's been awesome getting to know the guys in our roster and having them get to know me, and that's been a big part of what we've been up to this winter and spring.
So can we ask about the linebacker coach? We know we have that vacancy. Has it been filled? You don't have to make the announcement if it's not public yet, but just give us a yes or no. Has that position been filled?
We've been working on it, and it is. We feel like we're close.
Okay.
I'll say that. We feel like we're close, guys.
All right.
Yep.
Mitch is giving him the old blink twice for yes, blink no for one, blink once for no.
I mean, I obviously Coach Kirch doesn't know this, but we were huge fans of Coach Hodge, and he was a friend of the show. He was one of the first, I think maybe the first coach that we had on.
Yeah, he's a character, man.
And he was,
he was got great energy.
Yes, he brought it every single day, nonstop, and so we're big fans of him. We're gonna miss him, but we're also just really curious to know who the replacement is.
Yeah, no, Coach Hodge was beloved by his players. Had fantastic energy. He was a great teacher of the game. Yeah, he'll be missed.
Oh yeah,
no doubt about it.
For sure.
All right, so I want to touch on it a little bit. You mentioned you got handed the keys to a sports car here, but there's a lot of new names that are going to be showing up on the roster here that a lot of fans might not have heard in the past, but it feels like the same expectations are coming in with top defense in the Missouri, if not top in the nation. What are your processes when it comes to filling all these new holes that showed up?
For us, it starts with, when you lose guys from your roster that are good players, whether that's through graduation, whether that's through the draft, whether that's through the transfer portal, you have to fill that vacancy. And so, to us, it's about, hey, evaluating these guys that we're losing and why did they bring value to this football team and how did they bring value to this team? And then we go out and try to find like-minded, players with similar abilities to do the things that the players did who we lost. And easier said than done. And sometimes, they come in all shapes and sizes, but ultimately it's, again, the guys we lost, what was the value they brought, and let's go find a guy that can bring a similar type of value. Maybe not in the exact same way, but as close as we can get.
Yeah. There's one D lineman that you guys have that signed that I wanted to just comment on. It's Kalen Presser.
Yeah.
I think you guys are legitimately going to have the tallest D lineman, at least in the Missouri, if not in all of FCS.
It's got to be.
He's a good looking dude. Yeah. He's a good looking dude. He showed up on campus. All of our guys showed up yesterday, and standing next to him and shaking his hand, I was reminded again at how large of a human he is. And he's got so much body to grow into. What did he say he was? 220 pounds maybe, but no body fat. He's got the long levers going everywhere, and he's only going to fill out and be more of a menace.
He might have more pass breakups than our corners.
If
you work him right.
Yeah, Coach Nelson is going to be all about tip drill. Every individual time there's going to be a slot set aside for tip drill.
Let's stay on the defensive line for a second, because it's no secret that we lost all 4 starters up front to either graduation or transfer. But and you brought in a bunch of defensive linemen on top of the depth that we have. And this is kind of to Yote fans' question here. I'm going to throw that up because I kind of piggyback in here, but he asked, what are some names of some guys that we can look for that will play with their hair on fire? I want to stick on the defensive line specifically. Who's standing out so far through spring with you?
Through spring ball, Chris Dixon had a great spring inside for us. He'll have a big role for us. Carter Hooper and Niall Dickel on the edge, I thought did a great job just improving every single day and really turning into playmakers by the end of spring. Who else can I bring up?
those three all saw minutes last year and actually contributed. And then you've got some newer guys. You've got the two guys from Iowa. Either of those popping in practice at all?
Yeah, they did. Bowie and God, why can't I think of
Caden Crawford?
Yep,
Caden
Caden.
Crawford. Yeah. So Bowie will be here this summer. He wasn't at spring practice, but Caden Crawford plays at a different speed. That dude plays at a different speed. His get off, his ability to get off the football, get underneath people's pads, and react to blocks is what really stood out to me. So really looking forward to him and seeing his production this fall.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe you guys are going to make me compliment another Iowa player. I can't deal with the Hawkeyes.
Yeah.
No, but what did we say? What did we say last episode?
If we're going to compliment a Hawkeye, it's going to be a defensive player.
Yeah, defensive player or defensive coach.
Yep, exactly.
That's where we draw the line right there.
And then, let's go ahead and expand on that just from above the D-line, just the defense in general. Who's the guys that are playing with their hair on fire?
I'm always a little hesitant to drop names because I'll always forget guys, but we got some great competition going on at every level, from the D-line, linebackers into the secondary. I thought Wade Abrams had a great spring. Nate Ewell was out, so gave him an opportunity to get more reps. Gabe Hardman, who saw playing time last year, is really becoming a leader in the linebacker room. That guy flies around and hits people. He's a really smart football player and easy to coach. QJ Moore is a young guy that is going through his first spring at linebacker out of high school in Florida.
He's grown up, by the way. We saw him, Jake, as a freshman coming in, from high school, and he's put on a lot of body.
His body is really changing. Yeah, he's
big
starting
time.
to look the part.
Yeah, for sure.
Starting to look the part. In the stud room, losing our guy from last year, we're looking for somebody to step up there. Matt Walsh had a really good spring. Was really the starter coming out of spring ball. Austin Rosetta, who's another senior, was out with a knee injury, so didn't have an opportunity to compete, but looking for him to do some good things this summer and this fall. And then behind it, Roman Tillman and Timbo White, again, two guys that are developing as leaders at the safety position. Okay. And I thought Mikey Munn and RJ Stewart looked really good at corner, along with some other guys. Again, I know I'm leaving guys out, but there's a lot to be excited for.
I want to stay on Mikey just for 1 second because we're big fans of his on this show. His conversion from safety to corner, was that out of necessity, or was that something that the coaches saw that where he would be a better fit there, or what was the primary reason for that? To be honest
with you, I wasn't a part of that conversation that happened before I got here.
Okay.
I've only known Mikey as a corner, but that guy can flat out fly. Mm-hmm. His foot speed, the way he turns it over, is unbelievable. And his hips are improving. His footwork is improving. His technique is improving. He's starting to put it all together.
Oh yeah, no, he's got a big fan base over here at Back to Pack.
Let's go.
I mean, just to give Coach Kirch how much of sickos we are as fans. We used to watch him run high school track at the state championship just to see how fast he was. All right, that's the level that we're at here.
To be fair, we were bragging.
We were because he had already committed, and so we were all in.
Yeah, he's moving.
All right,
Coach, I do have one question just to kind of piggyback off this a little bit, because you brought it up and it's a great point. So you get to Vermilion in January and it's pretty much, all systems go right away. So tell us about that process, right? It's like you've come into a new program, basically the entire roster is new to you. How hard is that to get up to speed as quickly as possible to not only get to know the players, but get to know their folks on the staff and try to do that all to have a solid, productive spring ball where you can make evaluations and try to do that early on, of course. But
yeah, the big items for me is we're getting to know our guys, getting to know the players on our team. getting familiar with our scheme and the terminology that was being used here. So I could do the learning on my end when it came to terminology. And then getting to know the process of just the day-to-day in the building, Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So, yeah, in terms of the players, I mean, the first thing I did was go right to the website and print off everybody's picture. And I had those suckers right next to my bed, and I would look at those things every night, and I'd go through them. I'd try to quiz myself. I'd pick up the phone, and I called every one of those guys and try to, connect the dots and try to find ways to memorize people's names based on how they looked. It was a lot of time with Coach Johansson, sitting in his basement, talking football, going through the playbook, talking terminology. And then it was me going back to the office or going back home and studying for a test. It's again, the philosophy and the structure are the same, but there's new lingo and new language to learn. And I love that stuff. So I enjoyed every second of it. And then the day-to-day process, again, I had a lot of great resources from guys that have been here before, schedules from the past, or, ways that we had run meetings, things that worked, things that didn't work. And, I had a lot of good resources from Coach Johansson and guys that have been around, with help from our GAs on how things were run on a daily basis. So yeah, it was a great challenge, but it was a fun challenge.
All right. And Coach, I want to bounce back to one position that you brought up. It was one position we talked about on our previous show, and it's the stud linebacker position.
Yeah.
Can you expand upon that, just so for the record, because we were a little confused as to what that position entails.
Yeah, I think everybody in the country has a different word for that, maybe. But, we play with 4 down linemen.
Yep.
2 safeties and 2 corners. So we're really a 4-3, but kind of a 4-2-5. If you're a 4-3, you call that guy a Sam, a Mike, and a Will. If you're a 4-2-5 and you play a safety on the field, he's usually a nickel or a star. So you have a star or a nickel, and then a Mike and a Will. So for us, we just we term him a stud. But what he is, he's a hybrid linebacker and a safety. He's a guy that lines up to the field in most of our base defenses. And he's got the ability to line up on a number 2 receiver, tackle in space, have the foot speed and the hips to run with guys vertically, and then be physical and nasty enough in 12 personnel to walk down on the line of scrimmage and knock back tight ends and set the defense.
Okay.
So that's who he is, and we call him a stud.
Okay.
So you've got a pair of 6'3" corners that are coming. Would they be kind of potentials to play that spot?
Yeah, that's the fun part with some of this recruiting is, we call them swing guys. Guys that are corners that can play some safety, and guys that are safety that can transition down to play some stud. And we feel like we got a couple studs that could potentially transition into the box and play Mike and Will. So yeah, we feel good with where that room is right now. We still have a few more pieces to put in place, so we're not totally complete, but definitely have guys in the defensive backfield with some swing potential.
So I guess just for the common fan, I just kind of frame this up, Coach, is just, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's essentially kind of a chess match, right? Like you can mix and match with that position depending on, individual play or series or whatever, or you can kind of mix and match whatever you want there. It can become an advantage, obviously, for us. And we've seen it in the past. Yep. Guys, we've seen it with some hybrid linebackers over the years, and we've had some good ones. So for the common fan to kind of, so they can understand that.
Yeah, the last few, the corners are your corners, your safeties are your safeties, your D-line's the D-line, your Mike and Will are who they are on base defense. At that stud position, he could really leave and put on a bigger or smaller body based on the personnel that you're facing.
Yeah.
We've been fortunate here at USD the last few years to have a guy at that position that can play in 10 personnel, 11 personnel, and 12 personnel. Another way of saying it, we've had a guy there that has the traits that I mentioned, where he's athletic enough to be a defensive back, but he's physical enough to be a linebacker. That allows him to stay on the field versus any personnel grouping. And ultimately, that's the kind of guy we want to have there. It takes something off our plate as a coach, frankly, to not always have to be subbing in and out. And also, it's another guy to get game ready, and it's, more reps that need to be had to get two guys ready to play one position.
Yep. And now I do want to expand just on the defense as a whole for you. And I've always curious, how much fun is that chess match between you and the opponent's offensive coordinator? It's a kind of a 1v1 setup there of you putting pieces in the right spot and him putting pieces in the right spot. How much fun is that for you?
When it's going your way, it's a lot of fun. When it's not going your way,
well, you've been having a lot of fun lately because you've had some good ones.
Yeah.
But to be honest, what we want to do on defense is we want to play as much of our base calls as possible. I don't want our program to have to rely on me to call the perfect blitz or the perfect coverage or the perfect stunt or the perfect disguise on a consistent basis to play dependable defense. There'll be times where we need to do that, and we need to be ready to be advantageous in some of our calls based on what we're seeing and what the film says. And there'll be those tendencies where we say, okay, we've seen this on film. We know they're doing X, Y, and Z. Let's get this call rolling. And when that works, it's a lot of fun because it's you and your players know, hey, this came from our preparation. This came from our film study. We saw this. We talked about it. We had the idea of, if they do this, we're going to do that. And so that stuff is a ton of fun. But the other side of that coin is we take a lot of pride in playing base defense when we need to, giving our guys a set of rules where our players can win football games for us. Our players can get us out the football field. Our players can identify any formation that they see. They can communicate, they can get lined up, and they can take something away. Now, there's not a one-size-fits-all defense, but you should take something away in every call, and our guys will know that. And when they're exposing the weakness of a call, we can let them do it, or we can choose to switch into an opposite call that takes that weakness away and has an opposite strength. So between those two worlds, the base defense world and the adjustment chess match world, they're both a ton of fun, but that's kind of how I see the game as a whole.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, and I think you speak to it. I think we've seen that over the last 2 years, that this defense, this scheme has had a ton of success in base set, right? To the point where there's been times where we've talked about in the show, we're like, man, we didn't hardly bring any pressure, this game, right? We didn't dial up any blitzes. And then
that's because we were getting so much up the middle, right? Up front.
Right. And then you look up and, they're allowing 7 points, right? So that success, to your point, is it's great to see, because it gives, as fans, it gives you a lot of confidence. I can't imagine how much confidence that gives to the players going out there and being able to stop folks in that base set. So.
All right. So, Coach, I do want to poke fun at last season a little bit of what Coach Johansson left you to try to replicate. But last season, we played Indiana State at home.
Oh, here we go.
And first of all, we blew them out 49-0. I don't know if you checked the film on that one or not. But he did something that we've never seen, him and his team. They held a team to negative rushing yards. Can we expect the same?
on about 30 attempts, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty remarkable. Yep. That's good for the confidence. That lets you know you're doing something right. And
Yep.
Definitely a morale boost around the office and the locker room.
Mhm.
So we'd love to do that. But yeah, a ton of confidence in who we have on our staff, a ton of confidence in what Coach Johansson's done in the past, and looking forward to continue to put maintenance on the things that have worked and develop those areas that need improvement. And yeah, I think we're in a great spot and headed in the right direction, and a lot to look forward to. But yeah, negative yards rushing. Let's do that.
Let's do it.
Now we won't hold you to it. We gotta have some fun. We know that's a history books kind of play or game setup.
Yep.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but let's go ahead and change gears. Unless Mitch or Grant, you have any more football questions?
I want to say one thing, Jake, and this is more just a compliment to Coach Kirch and even the rest of the guys on the staff, but just for you and some of the guys, the newer coaches that have just come in here, in winter and early spring, but you guys have had to deal with the madness of the portal on top of then having to recruit high school. And so I know you've been traveling as well. And so I just want to say, big shout out to you and to all the coaches, especially the new guys, because you're trying to get up to speed. You're dealing with the portal, the guys coming and going, and then obviously trying to, get to in front of these high school kids too. So just want to give you a big shout out for that. And, we recognize that, and we're obviously online to support you from afar. We can't be there with you, but we hope that you feel our presence, at least online.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate that support. We just remind ourselves that we're not the only ones in the country doing it. This is just college football and the landscape of college football right now. But it's just you got to find ways to be efficient with your time and evolve with the game. But yeah, I mean, spring ball overlaps with the portal, and the portal overlaps with high school recruiting, and high school recruiting overlaps with camps, and back to the portal and back to fall camp. So it's been another great challenge for us as a coaching staff, and I know every other team in the program or in the country is dealing with it. But we take it on as, hey, we're going to be great at this. Nobody's going to be more efficient with their time. And nobody's going to be a better developmental program than we are in every phase, and attack the calendar year the best way we know how, and learn from our mistakes and get better next time.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll reiterate with Mitch. You guys have been absolutely grinding. You kind of heck, I'm struggling keeping up with you guys just on the Twitter side of things.
Exactly.
So what you guys have been doing has been awesome. So yeah, and I don't think you want us there in person with the recruiting pitch like Mitch might have mentioned, but
no, definitely not. But
keep it up.
And the reason I brought that up, Jake, is because in Grant, when we talked about this, we're like, what are we going to talk about in the off season? And there is no off season in college football anymore, And so we have content, and there's stuff going on every single week, which is wild to think about, because it wasn't like that even just 2 years ago. This is all relatively new territory for everybody involved. So that's why I want to give you the shout out there.
I appreciate that, Mitch.
All right, so we're going to change it up. Obviously, you just mentioned how flooded your schedule is with work. But now we're going to learn about Billy. We're going to learn who you are outside of the office, outside of the coaching. And the first thing I always like to ask is, what do? You actually have some free time. You want to go do your hobby. What is the hobby that you like to fill your time with?
Oh, man. Well, I tell you what, when we moved to Northwest Iowa and I got hooked up at Northwestern, my wife and I and our 3 kids bought an old acreage.
Oh, very nice.
6 acres, a bunch of old buildings, an old farmhouse. And really for the next 7 summers, that's what we did. We took down buildings. We renovated the house. We worked on this. We worked on that. We took out fencing. We put fencing in. We bought chickens. We bought horses. We got rid of chickens. We got rid of horses. We bought dogs. I mean, it's been a lot of time spent on that place and doing that sort of stuff in our free time.
Sure.
Besides that, we have 3 kids that are involved in sports. Our oldest is a 10th grader now. We have a 7th grade daughter, and a 5th grade son.
Okay.
So my wife and I, are busy with those 3, and every season's a new sport.
Right.
Try to play some golf when I can. I'd like to do more hunting than I do. I buy these Labrador retrievers thinking they're going to be hunting dogs.
Yes.
I teach them how to sit and stay and heel and fetch, and then just never take them hunting.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, just never. And
I know the feeling.
I'd like-
do we all have labs, by the way? Grant, do you have
I
lab?
don't.
Oh, Grant
No.
doesn't. Okay. All right.
yeah. I mean, I got a duck hunting coat in my basement. I've had for 6 years. I've never worn it duck hunting. But I desperately want to be a hunter. I just, maybe someday.
I was gonna say, Coach, I got some bad news for you.
Mhm.
You're looking at the hobby that fills up the fall.
Yeah, exactly.
Tough.
Coach Johansson and I have already talked about it a little bit. We got to make it a point to get into some more, at least road hunting in the fall.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's got to be time to get out of the office for 30 minutes and just hit a back road. And
So just go a little west. Go about 5 to 10 miles west. Hit over by Meckling and Gayville and Vollen. There's a bunch of pheasants over there. You can get some right in the ditch.
yeah, yes.
And you know what? I will say, Coach, I do venture down that way quite often. It's not hunting, but you hit me up, we'll go fishing. We'll get you in the boat. Yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
That's a summer hobby at least. So
Uh-huh.
all right. So
Mhm.
you've been in Vermilion since January, right?
Yes.
Now, this is the question that we always ask all of our guests. Apparently, we were also food critics, but early, obviously short amount of time. But what is the go-to restaurant for Coach Kirch?
Well, when we have recruits in town, it's steak for dinner and it's OLC for lunch.
Yep.
So it's OLC for lunch,
okay.
and it's
Hartford.
what is it? Hartford for dinner.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So I've gotten very familiar with those 2 places. They're excellent. I honestly, I mean, you'd think we get sick of it, but we don't.
That's all you need, huh?
Yeah. So we're pretty spoiled that way. There's an upstairs at OLC. Is that what I'm thinking of?
Yep.
Me and Natalie and the kids went up there a few weeks ago, and nobody was around. Just a bartender, and a couple TVs and some open space and some good country music, and we had a pretty good time up there having dinner. And they had like life-size Connect 4.
Oh really?
Nice.
You know what I mean? So kids and I battled it out on that, but
Nice.
I didn't mind that spot. Other than that, that's really all I've been to. I guess I've been to Mexican. I did enjoy that.
Okay. Was that Viejo or the one across the street from the Dome now?
It would be, what was it, Mamacita's?
Okay,
Yeah,
the new one.
That's fairly new.
Yep.
We've heard some good things, so we haven't had a chance to try it out.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
couple,
it's-
2 or 3 Mexican places now in Vermilion that we've yet to try.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I'd recommend it.
Okay, good to know.
Awesome.
All right, perfect. Well, I want to tee it up for Mitch and Grant too. You guys got any other questions? Anything else for Coach?
Who's that linebacker coach? That's all we need.
Who is he?
He's
Who
calling
is
the
that
line.
guy?
Who is it? Who is he? Who is he? No,
You
we
just let me know. We can mute Mitch. So
There you go.
if he's too much,
we can put him in timeout if we need to.
No, we have a blast, and we've had so much fun. Not only with this interview, but to just following all the changes this off season with the O's. So couldn't ask for much more.
Love it. Well, like I mentioned to you guys before we got on, I think this is awesome that you guys do this. Like I tell these recruits that come and sit in these chairs, this is a great place to spend 4 years of your college football career. Not only because of this program, but because of where it's located. A town like Vermilion that lives and breathes Coyote football. And in a state like South Dakota where there's no professional sports, there's no FBS sports, it's us in the state. And I felt that when I was in college, being in that smaller community in the state of South Dakota, and I feel it here. It's not a big city where you get lost in the shuffle and people are off doing their own things. Everybody here wants us to be successful and wants our athletes to be successful. And so, what you guys are doing here is huge for our program and our culture and our fan base. So I thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Honestly, it's been an absolute blast. With how open the whole coaching staff has been to work with us too. We've had players on. You guys are making it easy for us. Yeah. And I'll piggyback off of your comment about coming to USD. There's something about it. It just sticks with you. Even after your 4 or 5 years, heck, I took a victory lap, so 4.5 years, but it sticks with you. It really does. And there's just something about it that draws you back time and time again. Mm-hmm. There's something different there.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's awesome.
Perfect. And we were going to tee you up for a message, but I think you nailed it right on the head there too.
Yes. Okay. Grant, give us the last words of wisdom here. You're a Vermilion rat. What do you got?
Yeah, no, I agree that I always jokingly say Vermilion must be special because I tried to leave and I ended up coming back to go to college. So at USD. So the Vermilion is a special place. Of course, I'm biased growing up there, but more importantly, USD and the Dome are a very special place, and that's been turned up to level 10 here in the last couple of years. So I'm really excited to see what the fall has to bring. Really excited to see this trajectory that USD has been on here recently continue. So appreciate what you and the staff are doing, and appreciate you coming on tonight and sharing some info with us. We really do appreciate it.
No, well, we just hope that we can continue to produce things around here that you guys are proud of and proud to continue to support. That's our goal.
Okay, Jake, I have one more thing. I lied.
Okay.
The new turf that's in Grant's background photo. We've not lost on that new turf yet, Coach. That was put in last summer. I went undefeated on it last year, including the playoffs. Have not lost, so no pressure. But I know that Coyote Nation, everybody listening to this, and all of Coyote Nation, we are going to do our very best to help you defend the Dome. So we're going to keep it rocking.
It takes everybody, man. Fill that place up.
Yes, sir.
At least he didn't ask about the linebacker coach.
No. You guys didn't even know who the linebacker coach is?
I think we already know. We'll leave it at that.
No, we'll figure it. We'll see. All right. Perfect.
Find out. You guys will find out. I promise.
All right.
Perfect.
Well, hey, I think we've covered everything. Coach, thank you again for your time. This was a blast. Excited to see what happens in the fall. I think the last thing we have to say is go Yotes.
Go Yotes. Thanks,
go
boys.
Yotes. Thank you.
Go Yotes.